suffering be dispelled. Let all pain, suffering be dispelled.
Well, hello there. It's lovely to be with you. It's Mercury in retrograde. It's my only excuse. Everything's gone hinky-pinky. The sound of that music sounded all up the spout. The traffic is bad. Couldn't get a coverage. Got online. Couldn't get it to go through. I've been in traffic jams really since I got back from Nice on Friday. Just the whole of England seems to be a traffic jam. And it's just total typical Mercury in retrograde stuff. And I thought, what a perfect example of not blowing things out of proportion, because that is the number one rule, I guess, if there is a rule, the rule of cool. That is the number one rule for having perspective, is not blowing things out of proportion. Or you could say that is an effect of learning to not blow, of having perspective rather, is that you stop blowing things out of proportion. Now, we have been trained and schooled in a view, a description of reality, which is necessarily a limited one. It's one that has derived from generations after generations after generations of people, most of whom have been living in a relatively limited, by a relatively limited model, one that was either dominated by church or politics or, you know, social mores that were very constrictive and prevented people fully expressing themselves in authenticity, with authenticity, and encouraged pretentiousness, pretending to be somebody that you're not, pretending to be more well-behaved than you are, pretending to be more innocent than you are, pretending to not have the thoughts that you have, and so on and so forth. And so the model that we have inherited must be a limiting one. It's not the most expansive. Our role now, as we are on the planet, at the forefront of human evolution at this momentous time, as we're about to, or as we're in the process of entering a completely new 2,000-year astrological age, the age of Aquarius. You know, because we can use any way of categorizing temporal existence and measuring it and, you know, chopping it up and so on, and that's one way. It's as valid as any other. But there's definitely a sense that we're entering an unprecedented era in human evolution if we manage to survive the challenges that are ahead of us, which I do believe we will, by the skin of our teeth. We limit what can be with reality with our limited perspective. And we, with that, give importance, huge significance to things which we have been schooled in believing are hugely significant, hugely important, which in fact are not, it turns out in the end. And this is possibly one of the first times, certainly in our knowing of human history, where we've been bold enough, where we've had the information and the courage to look beyond the confines of the limited model and actually allow ourselves to have perspective of the gods. I use that word poetically. Now, this is reflected by the fact that in 1969, was it, we saw photographs, visual proof, if you like, of the Earth being a round thing rather than a flat thing. We kind of knew that already, I mean, but we're still not fully with that one. We still say the sun rises and the sun sets and so on, which indicates that we believe we're on a flat platform around which the sun orbits, which is not true at all. It's the opposite. well, it's not that the sun's a flat platform, but that we are orbiting the sun, for example. But we're coming out of it. We're starting to look with the perspective of the gods. We're starting to see all the way around the planet with the satellite TV and with the internet and everything else and mobile communications. We can see everywhere all at once somehow. We're starting to see with the vision of the gods. Now, obviously, the majority of us are using this in daft, stupid ways, like all the nonsense going around on the internet, like social networking, and all the, the complete waste of energy that we perpetrate with it, because we're like children, aren't we? And we start with something. We'll generally tend to sort of work with at the most basic level of it, but very quickly, relatively speaking, even if it seems like a long time for us, we start evolving in that. We develop, become more sophisticated, more complex in our uses of things. And this internet is reflective of, symbolic of, the sort of the collective consciousness. This is, I don't know how many steps away, but it's not many steps away from pure telepathy, pure global telepathy. Now, we're all completely capable of that right now. It's just that we don't believe we are, and so we don't allow it to happen. We keep the filters on. And this enables us to kind of maintain this system of boxes and walls and smoke screens and stuff that goes along with presenting a beautiful face to the world. And it's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. We keep the sewage buried underground, we keep the toilet pipes hidden, we keep everything looking beautiful on the surface, where underneath the surface it's rotting and infested with rats and all the rest of it. And that's fine. It's nice to live in a pretty world. I prefer it. Sure, I don't want there to be open sewers and so on and so forth. But I'm just saying that we present a face which is not what is really occurring under the surface of things. Where am I going with this? I've just done a workshop about enlightenment and the process which enables enlightenment. And that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking about being able to attain to and then retain this awareness that comes with transcending the limitations of the model that we've subscribed to for so long, where we start to be able to see ourselves no longer personally, exclusively, but transpersonally as well. And then by and by, in the fullness of time with practice, this transpersonal view becomes the default position. It becomes what we're used to. And when we take ourselves personally, it becomes the exception. What I mean by transpersonal is that when seen from a big enough panoramic perspective, each of us are like flowers in the garden. And as you know, when you observe flowers, they come and they go. They come and they go. Each has their season. Each contributes to the overall beauty of the garden. None of them, as far as we know, takes themselves personally. They just give their lives as an offering to the world of beauty, and a place for bees to come and do their business and stuff. Now, when the advantage of this for flowers, or for us, if we see ourselves as flowers, is that we no longer worry quite so much about things becoming inconvenient or difficult or painful or dangerous, scary, and so on. In fact, we even almost welcome it because it's kind of fun. It makes it interesting. We are able to breathe and have psychological distance from our reaction to the world around us. We are no longer so desperately caught up in competition anxiety, and we tend to then stop producing the stress chemicals in the body that we become addicted to by perpetuating these fearful what if thoughts in the head. And we stop blowing things out of proportion. Everything becomes ordinary. Life, death, eternity, the cosmos, danger, the rise and falls of fortune, what people think of us, what they don't think of us, the big theatre of life, how well we're doing, and so on and so forth. Things seem to go wrong. We don't overreact anymore quite so much. It all becomes part of an order, a natural order of things. And we're then more able to appreciate how every manifest phenomenon is governed by the movement of yin and yang, the contraction and expansion that moves in a cyclical motion and subtends every phenomenon, so that everything has its rise and everything has its fall, everything has its difficult patch, everything has its easy patch, everything has its punishment, everything has its reward, everything has its responsibility, everything has its gift. It's like, it doesn't matter what you care to mention, it doesn't matter what it is or who it is, what the situation is, however beautiful, however magnificent, it will have its dark side, it will have its problems, its challenges. And conversely, however horrible a situation, a person, a thing, whatever, it will have its gift, it will have its blessing. And in time, with experience of observation, we learn that there's absolutely no point getting excitable about whether things go wrong or go in our favor, because we know that they're going to swing round the other way, and everything that goes wrong will result in something that goes right, and vice versa. The next thing is that we become aware of a relationship, an implicit relationship, with what you might call the forces of destiny, some people describe as the laws of karma. And we have a choice with destiny, as we do with everything. Nobody can say definitively what destiny is. Nobody can say what God is. Nobody can say what the Tao is. Nobody can say what love is. Nobody can actually say what enlightenment is, really, that clearly. But we do know for sure that reality, as we experience it, acts like a mirror that reflects back at us what we believe reality to be. Reality serves as a mirror that reflects back at us what we believe reality is. So if the reality of the aspects of reality we're addressing, say in this instance, destiny, karma, call it what you will, if we're looking at that and we believe that to be our nemesis, our enemy, something we must outwit, something that's going to fool us in the end and we're going to die, and therefore we must spend our whole life putting everything in order so that destiny can't mess with us, or it can mess with us as little as possible, then that's precisely how destiny will present itself. It will mirror that belief back at us and somehow behave in a way that justifies our belief. Now, we're equally free to choose destiny to be our friend, to trust that destiny is an aspect of Tao, which obviously it is, that has our best interests at heart. Why would it have our best interests at heart? Why would it care? Well, the Tao is not a person. The Tao doesn't have feelings. The Tao doesn't have thoughts. The Tao doesn't consider things. It doesn't judge people. It doesn't punish people. It doesn't reward people. It doesn't give people anything. It doesn't take anything away from anybody. The Tao just is. And the Tao manifests itself as all of this universe that we live in. And goodness knows how many other universes simultaneously. We don't know. And it manifests itself as us, as these flowers in the garden, these nexuses of beauty. And the reason it does so, we must presume, is not to punish itself, not so it can suffer. It does so it can experience the glory and magnificence of existence through us. Therefore, it will want our best interest. It will want us to have the very best there is, simply because that will bring it the best experience inside of us. It will enjoy itself the most through us. You could say, really, it's us, well, of course, it's us enjoying ourselves on its behalf, if that makes any sense. So we can assume rationally that this presence, this force that generates existence, would wish, if it did have wishes, for its manifestations through which it experiences itself to have what they need, the very best possible, to have the very best experience there could possibly be. Now, the thing is, from the limited human perspective, we haven't really got a clue what is going to give us the best result. We think we know. We think that if we get that job, if we get that money, if we find that lover, if we have that relationship, if we move to that country, if we have that house, and so on and so on and so on, that this will bring us the very best there is. But we haven't got a clue because we're not weighing in the yin and the yang factor. It might well be that you get that beautiful house and find yourself turning into an alcoholic, bored up on the hill, not knowing what to do with yourself. Or if you've got all that money, you find that you felt very lonely because everybody just wanted you for your money, or that you were in that relationship and found it stifling, or whatever. We don't actually know what we want, in other words. We think we do, but we don't really. And the Tao does, the big pattern of everything kind of does just instinctively knows what is going to produce the biggest, best result for all its manifest parts, i.e. you and I. And it's the way to, I was going to say ensure, but guide in the very best possible result, which I think is what we're on about here, isn't it? We're doing magic. We're doing magic because we want to ensure the very best result we can. We want to guide that in respectfully, gently, elegantly and graciously, guide in the very best that there can be. We have to let go of thinking we know what the very best is, and when we do that, we stop getting so disappointed when things don't seem to work out as we think they should. And we start to trust more and more that when things go topsy-turvy, it's because they're going to flip into something much better than we could have possibly imagined when they weren't topsy-turvy. This is particularly pertinent right now because Mercury, the planet that rules communications and travel, is in retrograde for the next 3 weeks or just under. And I have been tracking Mercury in retrograde for 35 years, I think it is now, quite assiduously. I find it absolutely fascinating. And for 3 weeks, 3 times a year, it appears to go backwards in the sky. It's not really doing so. It's just the different angles of the orbit that we sort of look like we're leaving it behind in it. I can't remember the explanation really. But it does seem, weirdly, to have the effect of messing up travel, causing massive traffic jams, getting people to misunderstand each other. People fall out with each other for nothing. You know, like somebody says something that is meant to be nice, the other person hears it as something horrible, and that kind of thing. So it's quite pertinent at this point in time. And the idea that absolutely everything is as it's meant to be, to be able to acquiesce to that, yet always with the intention to optimize, make everything as beautiful as possible, not just for you, of course, but for everyone around you. Because if you're just doing it for you in isolation, it's only going to have a very limited effect, because we don't live in that reality. We live in a reality of a continuum where what one does affects the other and so on, because it's all just different cells in the same organism. What we're trying to do here is get a big enough panoramic perspective to see that life, death, violence, peace, economic disaster, economic success, you name it, you know, ignominy, celebrity, status, no status, whatever it is, you know, all the different facets of the material world. All of these are just part of a very beautiful, harmonious pattern, which when seen from far enough away is perfect, it's beautiful, and it resolves gorgeously. When we're in it, like stuck in the pattern, when we're in the carpet, in the pile of the carpet, we can't see the pattern of the carpet. We can't see the beauty of it and how it resolves. We can only do that when we grant ourselves panoramic enough perspective, when we can zoom out, as it were, really big, and then see, there I see that flower in the garden that I call me, offering its beauty. It's doing its thing there. How beautiful. And yeah, it may go through pain, it may go through this, but it will resolve perfectly. That's what we're aiming for, isn't it? That's the feeling we want. This kind of solid faith in the Tao, in the road, in the path, the way, that it will deliver us to the very, very best at all times. And as I say, if we believe that's what the Tao does, that's what the Tao does, that's how it works. That much we do know. The rest of it is all conjecture. The Native Americans with whom I lived used to talk about, well, Sonny Spruce used to say to me, you know, like, and I'd go on about stuff and I'd be really worried about whatever it was I going to get an extension on my visa to stay another year and all that kind of business. He used to say, like, some days you're a mouse, a field mouse, you're a mouse, that's it. And it's okay, that's what you are. But other days you're an eagle and you fly up really high and then you can see everything. It's just need to learn to be more than eagle at those times. Don't get stuck in being the mouse. It's beautiful to be the mouse. It's fine, it's good, it's part of the game. But don't get stuck there. You just become an eagle and look from high. And then you'll see the whole pattern and it all fits and it all makes sense. And as I say, when you stop taking yourself personally, it doesn't matter what happens to you that much. When the martial arts, the Taoist martial arts, they train you to fight from your back, to punch, to kick, to block, to ward off, to elbow, to shoulder, to do whatever you do with the other person, but all from the back of you. There's a practical mechanical reason because the back is strong, much stronger than the front. And when you deliver a blow from the back of you, it's got your whole body weight behind it, and it has much more impact. If you're delivering the blow purely from the front, you'd have to have very strong arms or legs to make that have an impact, and it wouldn't be efficient. But more importantly, perhaps even than that, is that when you're in the back of you, you stop being so concerned with what happens to this personality, this person that you think you are. That's the bit that lives in the front of you. Person, or personality, derives from the Greek word persona, which means the mask. It's the mask on the front of the being. And that's all it is. It's not who you are. And the mask does feel pain. Yeah, it does. If you punch it or kick it or whatever, it will feel pain. There's no question of that. If you take its money away, you take its whatever it loves away, it will feel the pain of that. But it is not who you are. That's not what you are at all. You just get deluded into believing that's what you are. You learn to identify with and reference yourself by that part of you that sits in the front. And that part of you that sits in the front of your body is afraid. It's afraid for its existence because it doesn't really exist in the first place. It depends on a whole complex of illusions that you uphold with conversations in the front of your brain for its existence. And when you come into the back of you, it all drops away, as does the fear. But when you remain in the front of you, you exist in a state of fear. You exist in a state of reaction to what's going on around you. And you are afraid of dying because you don't realize that you're much more than this thing that lives in the front of your body that will fall away when the body does. It will do, there's no question about it. But the bit in the back that observes, the background presence that bears witness to you going through your life, that doesn't go anywhere. It never did, it never will, it just is. And when you die, it's not like you're going to go somewhere you haven't already been. You're already there, we're already there. That is it, the eternal moment, that dimension beyond linear time, is where we actually all are already, right now, at this moment. We're just distracted by this fantastic, beautiful, kaleidoscopic illusion that we find ourselves in. And the game is to wake up and remember that that's all this is. It's just a very, very clever, complex illusion. While what observes the illusion, what bears witness to you going through the illusion, is not an illusion. That is Tao. That is pure consciousness, somehow or other shaped or organized around where your physical form happens to be right now. And once this is achieved, there is a greater and growing state of perpetual ease, I'd call it, no longer blowing things out of proportion, people living, people dying, being in pain, not being in pain, losing people, finding people, achieving things, failing at things. All this stuff becomes a lot less urgent. It's no longer seen as the be-all and end-all of everything. It's all just part of an order. It becomes ordinary, no longer necessary to blow out of proportion. I'm not suggesting you get cold or callous by any means. To the contrary, strangely, paradoxically, the more this transcendent, transpersonal position is achieved, the more compassion and empathy arises, and the more desire to alleviate the suffering of others. I don't quite know why that works. It seems counterintuitive, but I know from experience that it is true. The more there is this identification with that doesn't change, the innermost, the deepest part of ourselves, the Tao, even though that gives us more of a view of how things are all perfect, the pain, the pleasure, and all of it, as they are, we have even more empathy for the other when they're in pain, even more desire to alleviate that suffering in them. So it's a kind of, we win in every respect once we can attain to the enlightened perspective. And maintaining it, of course, requires the odd mental trick, remembering to be grateful rather than feeling sorry for yourself, not just for where you are now, but for where you've been, what's led up to this point. Remembering to view destiny as your friend rather than your enemy. It does take remembering. And most importantly of all, is remembering where to sit in your body, which is in the back. And when you do this, you become like the sovereign of your empire, of your realm. Not just internally, but externally too. You acquire a nobility, a regality that is your birthright. You become the ruler of yourself and of your realm. And if you consider kings and queens and great leaders, they don't lean forwards. They don't sit in the front of their body. They don't hunch forwards trying to please everybody around them, reacting to what's going on around them. They sit way back in their presidential chair or their throne or whatever it is they're sitting on. And they allow their guards, their minions, their servants and so on to deal with all the business that goes on in the front of the palace or wherever it is they are. They don't go to the front door to greet the guests. They sit way back in the throne room, which is at the rear of it all, and they let others take care of what goes on in the front. Well, this is exactly the same for us as individuals. We don't need to be in the front of the body to operate reality properly. We need to be in the back of the body, because from there we operate everything much better. We're much more dexterous and nimble and agile and clear thinking and flexible and supple in a mental, psycho-emotional way when we're in the back than when we're in the front. When we're in the front, it's like we're trapped in a corner. We're shoved into the drama. We become one with the fear. We become one with the excitement, with the craving, with the grasping, with the judging, and all the rest of it. When we're in the back, these same human traits will arise. There will be craving, of course. There will be fear. There will be desire. There will be judgment. There will be all sorts of stuff going on. But it's not us doing it anymore. It just is. There is desire. There is fear. There is judgment. And it becomes a lot easier rolling with that, because you're not jerking yourself constantly. You're flowing. You're flowing. You're not interrupting the flow by judging yourself, punishing yourself, freaking yourself out, making yourself nervous and all the rest of it, nearly as much. Because what I'm talking about is not something that you get, you like strap it down and lock it in and that's it forever. We're fluid, we're in motion, and the spin of events that goes on around us changes in intensity and brightness. And when it's really bright and really intense, it might be overwhelmingly distracting and will be pulled forwards for a moment. Or you might wake up from loads of dreams in the morning and be totally in the front of your body, completely lost in the drama of who you are and how you're going to make things work and all the rest of it. Of course this is going to happen. It's a yin-yang thing. There's going to be a movement, an oscillation between the enlightened state and the unenlightened state, no question. But just knowing that there's an option is massive, because for many decades we've not even known there was an option. For centuries, millennia, we didn't even know there was an option. We didn't even know we could sit back and allow life to come to us. We didn't even know that. A few Taoists and the odd sage knew it, but most of us hadn't a clue. Now we know. We have the option. Once we know we've got the option, we start getting a bit brave and we start taking the option. And it feels good. And because it feels good, we start remembering it. We start thinking, yeah, I remember that thing I did. That works, actually. I'll do that again. And the more you do it, the stronger it gets until it becomes habitual. What kind of blocks it is it's so unspectacular. It's like, yeah, what you mean to sit in my back? That's the answer to everything. And I say, yeah, it is the answer to everything. And yeah, that's all you have to do. Just sit in your back. Really, that's all you have to do. It really is no big deal. It's so tiny, it's almost not worth mentioning. Yet it is actually the most powerful technique I've ever encountered in my whole life. And And I know it's the same for anyone that I share it with. It's the same. It's incredibly powerful. Because it's tiny, we almost overlook its significance. We think to make a huge change, it has to be a spectacular move. But it doesn't. It's this very subtle shift, like this tiny, thin, diaphanous veil separating us from samadhi, from full enlightenment. It's not like some wall that we have to bang down. It's just this little veil that we have to move gently to one side. And enlightenment, this perspective that we're wanting, isn't something that has to take time. What takes time is unlearning these habits of running interference on ourselves. That can take time, of course, that's the process. But the actual enlightenment that we're after, this wisdom, this perspective, we already have it. When we stop running the interference, we already have it. It's like you have a room that's been in darkness for 1,000,000 years, and you open the door and sunlight floods in. Does it take a long time for that to vanquish the darkness? No. Immediately that room is in brightness, and it's exactly the same with us. So say, let's go to it. Now, the intention of this is to spark up a beautiful flow of serendipity, and that brings opportunities and wonderful surprises, not just in your personal life, not just in your professional life, but in your relationship with reality, in your feeling about how you are in the world, how you're relating to those around you, how people are treating you. Beautiful surprises that come to you unbidden, like surprises do, and you have no idea what they're going to be, but they're going to be gorgeous, and they're going to bring you wonderful changes in your life. That is the intention that I have. You might want to embellish or alter that to suit yourself. Good to clarify the intention to start with. Then you take stock, and you get a sense of where you are, how you feel, how you're sitting, how you're breathing, how you're holding your muscles, where there's pain in your body, where there's ease. How do you feel in relation to the surroundings you're in? How does it feel to be connecting with a few hundred people around the planet like this, my voice going on and the slideshow and all the rest of it? And then you make a choice. I can either stay riveted to the sensory input occurring around me, or I can just drop back now, and I'm going to drop back, I would advise. So you take a breath, you breathe out, you close your eyes, and you drop back inside. You become aware of your shoulder blades, you become aware of the front of your spine, you become aware of your rear pelvic bones, your sacrum, and you sit back into it like you're sitting back into a throne. And you just make it yours. It's yours. Lay claim to it. This is the throne. This is your throne. You lay claim to it, and you sit right back, and you get a sense of like, yeah, I'm claiming this space. This is mine. I deserve to be here. It's my entitlement. And at the same time as leaning back, you let yourself sink down as well, because you don't have to be ready to spring to your feet to please people now. You can completely relax and sink and be where you are. It's your entitlement. So you let all the weight of the head and the shoulders, the chest, and so on drop down where it wants to go, into the lower part of the body. And you're starting to feel really nice and rooted in the pelvic area, heavy, solid, powerful, substantial. And in the legs, and you have gravitas now. You've connected with the ground. And this is powerful, the ground. It's not some dull clod of nothing earth that just is there to hide the sewage in. It is a ball about 20 kilometers thick. You go down beyond the 20 kilometers, you hit heat that's like as hot as the surface of the sun. It's spinning on its axis right now, 1,000 miles an hour. It's zooming around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. The sun is zooming around the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour. The Milky Way is zooming through space at another 500,000 miles. Lot of kinetic power under your bum right now. And you sinking into it, you are becoming one with that power. So you're riding the kinetic power of existence right now, what they call the moving root, the root of all motion. And the sitting back inside keeps you sturdy, it keeps you safe. And the sinking down makes you be present. To stop there being a slumping tendency, because we don't want that, we want to be dignified, literally upright and bright and beautiful. Imagine that somebody is lifting the crown of your head as if there was a little hook there, upwards towards the ceiling or the sky. And that's causing the back of your neck to get long, your chin to drop to your chest. And this length in the back of the neck goes all the way down to the base of the spine, so that your spine is now elongating, a bit like a snake being charmed upwards by a snake charmer. And this is giving you more light in the mind immediately. It makes you feel taller. It makes you feel bigger. There's more of you. Enhance this sensation by dropping your shoulders and broadening them. Just letting them be broad. Don't hold them in. And raising your breastbone, just sliding it up 1 millimeter upwards towards the throat and slightly forwards a bit. To give you that kind of regal sensation in the chest, an expansive sensation in your heart area. Now let all the muscles of your body soften from the crown of your head all the way to the toes of your feet. Scan with your highly intelligent, observant mind, and wherever you spot there's excess, holding, tension, stress, rigidity, just give the command clearly to that part of your body, relax, soften now. And you feel that part of your body go soft. This doesn't mean it goes weak. Actually, strength derives from softness because the energy, the blood, the fluids can flow better that way. Life moves through you more. That's where you get your strength. So now your body is becoming softer. There's a state of grace is arising from within. And you enhance this by breathing slowly and with evenness of the in-breath and the out-breath, rhythmically, at a slow tempo. This sets your pace. So you're not running at other people's pace now. You're moving at your own pace. It's very important. You're now in command of your own tempo. And it's dictated by the tempo of your breathing. You are engendering more serenity. And your mind is starting to feel softer and slower, as it needs to. And the breath becomes more silken, smoother. And as it does, the mind becomes more silken, smoother. And as the mind feels smoother inside, the quality of thinking becomes lighter, more positive. Now, leaning back inside, get a sense that in front of you, at the chest area, the heart center, which is the source of your gorgeousness, your beauty, the aspects of you that when you were born, as a newborn baby, all the adults were, oh, isn't she beautiful? Isn't he beautiful? Oh, what a gorgeous, beautiful baby. Well, that's still you. That gorgeousness is still who you are. That's who you are. Covered over, carbon ring after carbon ring of experience, but it's who you are. Now, visualize the two halves of the chest opening up to reveal that essence, that beauty, that gorgeousness in you, like a cluster of precious stones framed by beautiful flowers, smelling gorgeous and emitting a beautiful light. See that as being there in the center of your chest, radiating your gift, your gorgeousness, your quality that made them go, oh, isn't she gorgeous? That. Feel it radiate from the center of your chest freely, generously, without limit, to everyone and everything, everywhere, all around you, not just on the planet, but beyond forever and ever and ever. No limits. And with that generosity, you are attracting naturally the same to come back to you, multiplied. So everybody on the planet and beyond who is, whether consciously or unconsciously, transmitting kind, positive thoughts to the world, you're receiving them right now. And certainly everyone here in our circle, you're receiving that love from all of them, just as you're giving it right now. But you're observing it, experiencing it from the back of you. And your mind, usually so busy evaluating and discussing things and describing things in the front of the brain, is now free to rest. And the way you rest the mind is to invite it to sit in the back of the skull instead. And see your mind accept the invitation and pick up its bits and pieces and walk slowly but purposefully to the back of the skull. And then sit down on a very thoughtfully provided pile of sumptuously coloured and made cushions. And you lean back into the rear wall of the skull, like you're sitting back into the rear wall of the cave. And there you are, like a Buddha, just observing, no agenda, no reason, just sitting, observing infinity, which you can see through the mouth of the cave there, which is roughly in the middle of your forehead. There's no reason for it. It's just that there's nothing more interesting to look at, really, than infinity. So you just gaze into infinity. You just allow yourself to be, your gaze to be drawn into infinity. Yeah, all the while watching from the very rear of you, supported by this massive physical, powerful presence within you that is also sitting in the back of you. While in the front of you, the chest is wide open and the love is pouring freely from you, and likewise back into you from elsewhere. And here you sit now, in good relation to existence all around you, nicely poised. Visualize a line of very super bright laser-like light going up the rear of the spine, and then down over the brain, or over the brain and down the front of the spine, to create a loop with your spine as the sort of the pole holding it together. And every time you breathe in, visualize the light running up the rear of the spine being activated, super bright. As you breathe out, you visualize the light going down the front of the spine, activated, again, super bright. And you now have this loop of solid bright light running around your spine, up the rear, down the front, up the rear, down the front, up the rear, down the front. And as it runs up, it gives you strength, it gives you power, it gives you direction, it gives you purpose, it gives you refinement of your being. And as it runs down, it gives you grace, it gives you the ability to acquiesce, to accept, to roll with, to yield. And the combination of the two cleanses you and strengthens you. It removes all negative energy from your field. It moves away from your orbit anyone and anything that needs to be set free that you might have been inadvertently clinging to. And it draws to you all those and the opportunities they bring that will enhance the ride, that will make the adventure everything it can possibly be, all those beautiful surprises. And more importantly than both of those things, it protects you. It gives your spirit body, this invisible aspect of you that goes on and on and on, its integrity, its shape. And you're now free to let go of the physical body for a moment. So you do what the Taoists talk about, which is the backward flowing motion. You just surrender to flowing backwards. It's the opposite of what you're used to. We tend to flow forwards. This leads to death, they say. Flowing backwards just makes you younger and younger and younger, and it leads to the eternal moment, eternal life. And as you flow backwards, you realize that you're coming out the back of your body and that you're much bigger than this physical form, much bigger than any description of reality you've ever come up with. Huge are you, and you're growing huger by the second as you drift backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards, faster and faster and faster and faster, through this realm of inner space, which isn't imaginary. It's as real as outer space. And as you do so, you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the planet that you can now see, that we inhabit in our physical form, is getting smaller and smaller in the distance. And it feels good as you thrust back, get feeling safer and bigger and more powerful by the millisecond. The planet that your physical form lives on is getting smaller and smaller, and that feels good. It feels good to gain this massive panoramic perspective. And you can see that the span of a lifetime from where you're looking all the way back here is like the blink of an eye. You can see that everybody's come and everybody's gone throughout history. You can see that everybody's had their difficulties and their ease, that everyone has had their failures and their triumphs. And you can see that really, ultimately, none of it makes any difference at all. It is all just motion. It's all just the flow of the yin and the yang. The only thing that makes the difference is the connection of love that you have felt with all the people that you felt it with. And that's the important thing, the only important thing. And you can see, as you scry into the future from here, that the path that you're on is a very beautiful path. You can see it as glittering with gold and rubies and diamonds and sapphires and emeralds. And you can see that it's got a beautiful golden glow around it, and especially what appears to be at the end of it. And you can see that there are what appears to be beings. They might be angels, they might be barefoot doctors, they might just be random entities who are standing at the side of the pathway offering gifts to you. They look like treasure chest, and each one contains another opportunity, another experience, another life lesson, another connection, another moment of beauty, another moment of shared love, another moment of validation and encouragement. And it feels enriching, it feels beautiful to observe that path way off in the distance there and know that your local physical self is going to walk that path and it's going to experience these gifts, it's going to receive these gifts, and it's going to give as it receives. It's going to instigate a beautiful, virtuous flow of energy. And you see many smiles along this path. It's as if you're a marathon runner and all the bystanders are cheering you on. Go, 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 go. And you're loving it. You're loving watching this. You're loving the sensation of your local self, basking in the glory of life, in the glory of the adventure of being. Knowing that it doesn't have to achieve anything. It doesn't have to win anyone's approval. It doesn't have to be validated by any person or any body of people. It just has to be that it has already received the greatest gift there is, which is being here. And all the rest is second to that. Nothing beats that as the prize. So it doesn't have to strive and run about like a headless chicken, seeking its fulfillment where it doesn't exist. It doesn't have to worry about all that stuff. It can just love being here. And in that state, allow all those other secondary gifts to come to it, as they will. Because as it says in the Chuang Tzu stories, when you empty yourself of this front being, this frantic, drama-related concoction that you think of as yourself, you take all the interference and static out of the field around you, and it feels peaceful and beautiful. And then even gods and spirits will come to you bearing gifts, let alone mere mortals. And with that as the intention, as the wish, as the desire, the drive, allow yourself to integrate back into the physical. So you have this vast being that you are, this Tao, this background presence, the primordial self. And you're now, without losing the connection with that, remaining sitting right back inside that, as far back into the universe as you could possibly go. You're also extending your presence into the front of you as well. And in so doing, you're springing back into the world of people and personalities and all the gubbins that we get up to here. Your toes, you wiggle your ears, you wiggle your nose. Start flipping your eyelids and opening the eyes and coming back into the world around you, knowing that you've got the secret, knowing that you've done the magic, knowing that you have triggered the superpower that you need for this next stage of the adventure. And on that note, I pass this over to Sue, producer, who is going to tell you how you leave messages or write questions or whatever it is you're going to do for this Q&A bit.
Hello.
Hello.
That was a powerful one.
Good, yeah, it was. I like that. Thank you for saying.
Okay, yes, so if you would like to ask a question, we have no questions in the question box as yet. So if you would like me to read your question out on air, please type it into the question box and I will be very happy to do that for you. If you would prefer to speak live on air with Doc, you need to raise your hand and wave at me. And the way that you do that is to click the blue circle with the yellow hand and the green arrow, and that's in your GoToWebinar control panel, which has got the little white arrow on the orange box at the top of it. So I'm not seeing any hands raised at the moment. I'm just...
Do you think I put everyone to sleep? I bet I did. I bet everyone's asleep. Wake up, ask a question. Or I'll get a complex and I think you don't care.
Well, I thought you might want to actually just say hello, especially to Ashley, who's listening from Japan, and it is literally, it was 2 a.m. in the morning when we started.
Oh, bless you, Ashley.
So,
hey, man, how's it going out there? Ashley, the handsome model, I know who you are, man. It's nice to have you here.
And Ashley said, keep spreading the love and positive energy.
I will do. Thank you. You too, sir. You too, sir. And blow a kiss to Japan for me, please.
And then we have Inga, who says she's so happy to be back live for the first time in a long while. Her internet and computer and telephone are all working, and all possible convolutions have been brought to light, so no more handicap. Yay, she's missed the satsang. All right. So we've got a question here from Penny in Luxembourg. Who says, I have difficulty in maintaining perspective with friends who say things in hurtful ways. My tendency is to cut off.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I know. It's not easy. But I think that what happens is that with practice, we kind of get to be able to say, hey, sorry, quicker. And I mean, I can be quite fussy and brutal with my friends. I often am. If anybody says something that really pisses me off, that it's stupid or unfair or wrong, or they're trying to manipulate me or get my time and I haven't got it to give, it's just like, I've got no cues at all. It's just like, whoosh, you're out for that minute. And then I come back very fast. I come on, it's like, I know where they're at, I'm sorry. You know, that is it, really. The difference with a master when dealing with disaster is a master gets off faster. That's all. That's what it is, really. We just learn to do it quicker so we don't get stuck in being horrible and so on. Unless it's really appropriate. But I do find that, you see, this stuff isn't about morals. It's not about trying to be a good person or get better or be brilliant or anything. It's just a slow, gradual, natural process that even works on me. If it works on me, it honestly can work on anybody, because I'm not, you know, I can react to anything, any time, and I get excitable. I love being alive. And I'm, whoa, you know, I'm like Italian, you know, I've got this, I'm not, but I could be, you know, I've got that kind of temperament. And it works on me, it can work on anybody, for sure. That much I really do know. And it's just slowly but surely you learn to sit in the back and keep the heart open. And yeah, you might lose it for a moment. You might, you know, somebody pisses you off, you lose it. But you'll get it back faster. You'll get it back faster, and you'll be able to climb off your position. You won't have adopted the position. You won't have invested in it so heavily. And it'll be immediately that you can go, look, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's, you know, and you'll be able to make peace much, much quicker. I mean, remember, everybody is Tao. There isn't anyone who isn't Tao. And most people apparently don't know they are. They've got amnesia. That seems to be part of the game. But everybody is. Flying, you know, it's like in the summer, everybody's out traveling and everything. And I was flying in the other day in the airport, and, oh, you know, it can really make you lose your patience. People dawdling along and getting in the way and just acting like swats. And you can really start getting judgmental and hateful of your family, your human family. And there's this moment where I'm looking at the security and all the people pushing and getting their bits and pieces and not getting their stuff out of their bags quickly enough and all that. And I've got a plane to catch. And instead of getting into all the drama of it, I'm in my back suddenly, and I'm seeing Tao in everybody. Everybody is Tao. They don't know it, but it's Tao. And I'm talking to Tao in everybody. I'm seeing presence in everybody. And I promise you, the atmosphere in that security area changed completely within seconds. It went really quiet and really calm. And the security guys, this was in London, he normally are really stuck in the role of being, I'm the security guy, I'm not a human being anymore. Suddenly started smiling and making jokes with people. The whole vibe completely changed. It was remarkable. I don't know why I told you that, but that might be helpful. I hope so, as you sit there in lovely Luxembourg.
Okay, right, we've got questions flooding in, left, right and centre. Well, and I've managed to upset my screen, so bear with me 1 second while I try and get them all back again, because they've just disappeared, which isn't too helpful, I'm afraid. Right,
Don't worry.
okay. It's the old Mercury in retrograde really making itself felt today. Oh dear. Right, okay. Malkit says, Dear Stephen, as always, I love your satsangs. Is there a special technique or method to help when we are overtaken by emotion? Would be good to have your thoughts on this. Love, Malkit, who says this was a powerful one.
Thank you. It was, wasn't it? Thank you for saying. I mean, I guess when you mean emotion, you mean an unpleasant emotion. Well, it's just this, you know, that you can be drawn, you will be drawn forwards by emotion, because the emotions are facilitated by an energetic reaction in the organ, in one of the vital organs. So if you, for example, you get an energetic reaction in the liver, for whatever reason or combination of reasons, diet, drinking, tiredness, and so on, triggered suddenly by somebody saying something that irritates you, you get anger, and that occurs in the front on the right-hand side. Or you say you are starting to really worry and feel really kind of concerned about one silly little thing, and you're running it round and round and round and round in your head. That will be because your spleen on the left is got a reaction going on in it, and so on and so forth. The emotions occur in the front of the body because of the organs, and you can go in there and you can feel it, and it's good to feel the emotions. I'm not saying we mustn't. We must. It's very important to feel what we're feeling, but it's not who we are. That's just an energy that's moving through an organ that happens to be in the body that you're calling yours, and that's it. You sit in the back, you observe, there is sadness, there is grief, there is anger, there is fear. And how curious, how interesting. And you know that your intention is to maintain equilibrium and to return to it as quickly as possible. You're aware that breathing is a great lever, so if you can keep the breathing slow and even, it will calm everything down quite quickly. And you just do that, and you have your intention, which is to normalize your sensation, and you sit in the back and you observe as the emotion passes. But you don't try and change it, or you love it. You have to say, I love this emotion, I love this sadness, I love this fear, I love this pain, I love this suffering, because that's the Tao. Come to visit you in fancy dress in that moment. Loving it makes it disperse. Fighting it, changing it, just makes it get stronger or go underground and hit you on the back of the head when you're not looking. It's the idea of just loving it, welcoming it. Tao, hello, I love you, I love you. I like your smelly disguise. Cool, I like that one. You want something cool with that. And that is the way I tend to process it on a good day, in a good moment. And then massaging the inside of the wrist in line with the little finger on the soft bit very firmly with the thumb, on the other hand, calms the heart like Valium. It calms everything and makes it easier. But really it's the coming into the back. This is the answer to everything. Absolutely everything.
Okay, Chrissy says, wow, Doc, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have so helped me today. My mind has been doing my head in recently. My wonderful husband spends a lot of his time working far away all over the world. Recently, my green-eyed monster has appeared and self-esteem taken a silly nosedive, even though I know it's all crazy stories in my head that I make up. He's having a better time than me, meeting exciting people while I'm at home juggling kids and work. I get myself into a crappy space of resentment and I'm a cow. How can I stop my mind freaking out on me and remember that it's all totally fine and that I am good enough, blah, blah. P.S. I know this issue is uber petty.
Uber what?
Uber petty.
No, it's not. It's not petty at all. This is the stuff of daily life, isn't it? This is the stuff of personality, of our interactions with those close to us. And it's very honest of you to admit that, because this is a big issue in every coupling. One will always, not always, but at times be jealous of the other. You can't help it. It's what happens. You feel resentful. It looks like you're stuck there looking after the kids. Well, I mean, firstly, we don't know that he doesn't have loads of times where you think, I wish I was at home just being with the kids. I shouldn't have to be doing all this travelling around. Of course, everything compensates. Everything's got its plus and its minus. When you are in the back, jealousy arises. Rather than punish yourself for it, being embarrassed that you're feeling or think it's wrong, you just, there is jealousy. How curious, how interesting. That is just a reaction of the local self, the front being. It doesn't really exist. The front being doesn't really exist. That is just jealousy arising. It's me doubting that my Tao knows what's best for me, as if I'm missing out. And it should be me that's travelling all over the place. In fact, I know that the Tao knows what it's doing, and that I am meant to be exactly where I am. This is my reality right now. And I love it, and I love this frustration, I love this jealousy. I love all of it. This is all Tao. I'm willing to love it all. And I love myself for feeling, irritated by it all. It's all very beautiful, the fact that I'm here to experience that. This can only be done when you're in the back of you, otherwise it's just intellectual. And also, the one thing to remember is that it doesn't matter how good looking he is, because I know what you look like. He can't be as good looking as you. You've got to be pretty good. You're always compensate or to console yourself with that fact. Well, at least I'm prettier. So you've always got that one going on. And, you know, all that beautiful time that you spend with your children, invaluable time nurturing your children, the reward will come for that later as well, where they, you know, you'll have that wonderful bond with that. He'll be missing a bit of that. You know, there's always the two sides to everything. And, you know, and places are only places. And long-haul flights are pretty horrible to sit on all the time anyway. And hotels are cold and soulless, and you've got to sit talking to 6 people that you're doing business with when you're really tired and jet-lagged and all the rest of it. It's not that easy. And, you know, probably it's a lot more glamorous than you think it is from where you're sitting. But you know this anyway. It's just a matter of sitting in the back and knowing everything is as it's meant to be. And love him more. Love him more and more and more. Do not let this jealousy get in the way about love. Love him, love him, love him, because he's not doing any of it to get one over on you. He's doing all of it to support the beautiful marriage that you have. You know, I think that's what he's doing it all for. You must keep remembering that.
Okay, so questions have come in. We've got about 5 of them, Stephen, so I'm just working my way down the list. A quick comment from Maureen, who said, massive wave of heat flooded through me as you finished the meditation. Really powerful. Thanks as always.
Well, I'll tell you something funny, Maureen. Hello over there in Seattle. It's lovely to hear from you. Bless your beautiful heart. I did feel that too, and I knew when I was feeling it, somebody is feeling that. I knew it. I just could feel it. Somebody somewhere is feeling that rush of heat. I got it too. I got exactly the same thing. Massive. It's a sweat level, actually. Really. I had to open the car door to let the air in, and more than was coming through the window.
And weirdly, I'm feeling that too. I'm absolutely roasting. Okay, Gabby says, thank you, Steph. That was wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Can you help as to how to deal with regular jet lag recovery from lots of flights from work? It's for her friend.
Hello, lovely Gabby. It's lovely to have you here too. I don't know. I find jet lag is very interesting because I've got this technique where I get on a plane and I change my watch to the time that the place I'm going to, and then I hypnotize myself into being in that time zone, even if it doesn't match the color of the sky outside. So I really spend a bit of time putting myself into the time zone, and I get myself feeling what it feels like being at that time. So say it's 11 o'clock at night in the time of the takeoff, where I'm leaving from, but it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day where I'm going to. I'm at 3 o'clock the next day, and it works. It's an amazing technique. It just does work. You get to the other end, and you actually feel like it is the time that you're in, and there isn't any jet lag. Having a damn good massage helps, I find, as well, like a proper one, not just some silly, flimsy bit of nonsense. Yeah, a proper, deep, connected tissue, banging, hurting kind of massage really puts you in your body nicely. Of course, eating well helps, but mostly it's about the psychological aspects and not giving way to the idea, oh, I'm going to be tired, I've got jet lag, not going into the drama of it all. Finishing up this amazing music project that I've been on and have now actually truly finally finished last Saturday in Nice. I had, towards the end of it, alternate nights of no sleep for about 10 days because I suddenly realized what I had to do and got the sound after 6 months, and then built a completely new track from scratch in 4 days. And it was like a mad one. It was just the creative muse just whammed into me, and I just had to go with it. I went one night no sleep at all, the next night sleep, the next night no sleep at all. It wasn't suffering. I was loving every minute. It was fascinating, riveting, nice, all night long, just going until I got what I needed. And there was a good 10 days of that, 5 nights of sleep in 10 days. And I just kept hypnotizing myself that I have slept. I slept. It's not like I didn't sleep. I slept. And it worked. It really, really worked. I'm not tired. I didn't get tired. I didn't get any kind of like collapse thing come at the end of it all. It was all just fine. And this is because the mind is all powerful. It's all about the decision we make. We are not slaves to the conditions. We are in command of it, and we decide how we're going to feel. If we stay with that, we will be strong. We will be strong. And melatonin. That's the other one.
This next one's from Rhonda, who asks if you have any tips for her as she's experiencing an overwhelming level of ego arrogance right now. And she signs off Rhonda in brackets 12 chakras.
12 chakras, as you
Yes.
say. Yeah, I know you, Rhonda. Hello, Rhonda. It should be the other way around, man. It should be me asking you, Phelps. Okay, help me, Rhonda. Help, you know. Ego is a wonderful thing. Don't let us be fooled in misunderstanding ego. Freud meant by the ego that you complete this persona. You make it integrated so that it's robust and can carry you through your doings with the world. What we think of as ego, this sort of nasty thing that we're talking about, is what he called the ego defenses, actually. And it was him that coined the term anyway, so we might as well use him as the reference. And what he meant by the ego defenses were the areas of self that we're lying to ourselves about, where we're compensating with dishonesty to ourselves and therefore to others for our complexes, for where we think we're inadequate. And so we create this kind of web of lies around ourselves, to ourselves, that I'm this and I'm that, and life works like this and it works like that, and I'm right and they're wrong and all that stuff. And there are aspects of that. There's vanity, there's pride, there's conceit, there's arrogance, there's not being compassionate towards other people, being psychopathic in our drive to get what we want and all that kind of stuff. And it's better, I think, to observe precisely what is up. So if it's vanity, it's like, there is vanity. If it's, you know, any of those, what they call 7 deadly sins or whatever, we just observe, that's that one up there. And maybe not use the word ego, because it's not really accurate anyway. I needs to be here. The I needs to be, otherwise there's no way of operating in the world. And we have to honour that. And I think you've got to love it. You've got to love all these aspects of yourself rather than hate it. Forgive it. If it was your child who you loved unconditionally, who was exhibiting these signs, surely you wouldn't castigate them and punish them for it. You'd be compassionate and very respectfully, carefully lead them towards the other way, towards the way of humility and modesty and nobility and all the qualities you want to see in them. You wouldn't punish them for it, would you? Surely. And so you mustn't punish yourself for it either. It's just part of the theatre. It's wonderful. This is the Tao in disguise, showing itself as these qualities for you to forgive, really. And you forgive them by loving them. And that's it, really. I love this ego. I love this pride. I love this vanity. I love it. It's so fun. Look at it. It's funny. And you take that approach to it. It sort of dissolves. Because what is it you're really after? It's inclusion, isn't it? It's what we all want. We want to be included in the human family, included and honoured and respected and valued and appreciated. That's what we all want. And we tend to feel shortchanged at times because we think we're not being included, not being valued, not being appreciated or honoured. And that's when these ego defences come up. That's when we start lying to ourselves and making it difficult for ourselves. And that's all it is. So when we come into the back and we open the heart, we feel the love for everybody in an unconditional, universal sense, nothing specific, just a gentle outpouring of our beauty to the world as a gift. And we allow the beauty of the world to come back in. It dissolves all this stuff. It's only static, is all it is. It doesn't exist. It's not real, any of it. You're still the beautiful, beautiful Rhonda that you always were inside. Nothing changes that. You have to remember that. And it will all dissolve.
So we have Elizabeth in Austria asking about duration. She says, you talked about death last time. I remember you saying some time ago that losing a person takes you through 3 years of feeling loss. How did you mean that?
Two.
How did you mean that? Can you explain something about durations? You said instant light in the meditation.
Yes. Hello, it's lovely to have you here, Elizabeth. Well, it's just empirically handed down wisdom in the Taoist tradition that the losing of somebody, whether it's through death or divorce or whatever, that you really love and have grown attached to, or even didn't like being with but were attached to, takes 2 years. It takes 8 seasons to heal from, to regain, retrieve your integrity from, to your power, to get your power back from. For whatever reason, they said that's how long it takes. And I have noticed that with breathing. It does seem to take 8 seasons, actually. After 8 seasons, you're all right. I mean, you're all right way before that, usually. 18 months goes by, you're pretty okay again. But the complete cycle of healing is 2 years. Now, it doesn't mean the pain's going to stop then, and then you're going to stop missing them. Of course, no, you will miss. I still miss my dad 12 years after he died. I can still cry about him at a drop of a hat. But I'm not walking around in pain, though. I'm not in pain and missing him. I'm with my life and everything is fine. And I think that's it, really. It's just they have this wisdom that observe that it seems to take that long to heal. Like it takes 90 days for a manifestation process to complete itself. They saw that as well. That kind of thing. I mean, it's a bit arbitrary, but, it seems to work most of the time, more or less. I hope that helps in some way.
This next one is from Jen, who's sending you hugs from Leeds, and she asks, is there a way to trigger the sit back and not reaction quickly when a surprise stressful situation comes up? Things haven't slowed down for her, but she's just trying to ride the tail of the horse at the minute.
Yeah. Hello, Jen, and a hug from wherever I am here to you in Leeds. But it's not. I don't know that we're wanting to not react. It's not that we're trying to stop ourselves reacting. We will react. The front part of us does react. And this is the point. When we're in the back, it's okay when the front reacts. That's just the front reacting. Even when the front draws us forwards to be up there with it, so that we get lost in there for a moment, even that's fine, as long as we remember to drop back again as quickly as possible. That's all it is. Now, what happens with us is that we get stuck on a position. As soon as we've made an investment into any particular position, forwards, backwards, whatever, we get stuck there and we defend it. So we don't want to move back once we've moved forwards, because it's like, no, I'm moving forward, I'm moving forwards, and I've got to justify that I've moved forwards. I'm going to stay here then. That's kind of how it works. It's like talking to a friend of mine in France who had been a trader and had worked their balls off for 20 years and was on the floor and had to really zip themselves up into an adrenalized state there. Retired, moved down to the south of France and didn't have to do that anymore for the last 4 or 5 years, but hadn't remembered to give the command, the countermand, to sort of like, okay, enough of that adrenaline nonsense, I can relax now. Never did that. So they're still rushing about when there's nothing to rush about for, because we get stuck on a position. And that's all it's about. So you remember that you have the choice, and you just drop back as fast as possible, and then the reaction becomes irrelevant. And if it was a nasty reaction towards somebody, you can counteract that very quickly by opening the heart and just sending them love, remembering the presence in them, not the pride on the surface. I don't know if I'm going to get tested for saying all this. People are going to start pissing me off. I'm going to be reacting all over the place, being too cocky about it. But it does seem to be. This does seem to work. It does seem to work. The more we go into the back, the less reactiveness there seems to be, quite naturally.
Okay, so we've reached our last question.
Okay.
This is from Geraldine, who says, hi, lovely Doc and crew. I wonder how to tell the difference between unhealthy obsession and a situation where something intuition is telling you is important, and so to hang on in there. And she signs off, love G on the little island.
Oh, bless you, G on the little island. Love to you too. The difference between obsession and intuition is that you will feel the obsessive pull towards someone, something in the belly, in the front. That's where the obsession occurs. You'll feel it in the chest and you'll feel it in the front of the brain. All the conversation that backs the obsession up will be going on in the front of the brain. And it will make you feel stressed, and it will make you feel very busy and noisy inside. And it will be irritating. When it's an intuitive thought, it arises from the back, quite clearly discernible. It arises from the back, and it's soothing. It makes you feel calm. It makes you feel happy when you hear it. And following it feels joyful, feels harmonious. Whereas when we're rolling with the obsession, following that, you just feel silly, actually. You know it. You know that you're tripping over yourself, rolling forward somehow. And that's really it. It's the one will make you feel scratchy. The other one will make you feel soothed. So it's knowing the difference, just checking, is it scratching you or soothing you? And that's it. And even if it's an obsession and it's scratching you, even that, when you sit back inside and observe it, it loses its compulsiveness. Starts to, anyway. It starts to. And we remember that all forms change in time. Everything is in motion. Nothing is worth getting hung up on, because all forms are changing. And everything will swing around eventually back in your favour. And it will. And it will, and it does. And it is. And this is my wish for everybody here. I do thank you deeply, deeply, deeply from my heart and soul for being here to do this with you. It's such an honour and a privilege, and it's an absolute pleasure to do this. And I need it. Really, I've done this workshop today. If I hadn't been doing a satsang, I'd have rebelled against talking about enlightenment all day, and would have jumped into a totally unenlightened state just as an act of rebellion because I'm a teenager inside. And this has got me doing that, and it's got me into a lovely flow. And so bless you all for affording me that opportunity, and I hope that my service to you bears all the fruit I wish it to, which is huge, and that you have a magnificent, magnificent week. Do come next week, because it was beautiful. It feels like family. Lovely to connect with you. Thank you. All my love to all of you. Bye-bye.
Let all pain, suffering be dispelled. Let all pain, suffering